Uh, Hello there. Welcome to the bus to nowhere. Hopefully, you're having a good time here. We're here today. We're going to talk a little bit about some some misconceptions and confusion and what the hell is wrong with some people when it comes to physical media. Like this is just kind of weird to me. So before I join Does It Play, because, I like to think my audience is very sensible and intelligent people that have a lot of familiarity with video games and stuff. You're not like newborns getting the Xbox Series as your first console kind of thing. But apparently, there's a lot of people who have absolutely no idea what the hell they're talking about these days lately when it comes to physical media. It's very, very, very baffling, but oh no, we're all going to die. Anyway, this world has random events that happen during it, so don't mind those. We're not going to really interact with those because those can have random, terrifying effects at times. But anyway, oh, it's the other bus. It's came to kill us. Anyway, so before I join Does It Play and report like my offline, not connected to the internet playthroughs that I do, which is usually what I do with most of my playthroughs these days. There was a point in time where I was like, I really think I should be playing these without patches and that because when you're buying a physical product, you're buying for that product, right? Yeah, I think it's a fair assumption to want to know how good that product is without the stuff that may eventually go away one day. The patches and such. So when I learned of Does It Play and counted them on Twitter, I followed them for a while, and then they asked people who wanted to join, and I asked to join, and I got to join, and then I started putting my backlog of stuff on there and future stuff and watching a lot of the interactions that he gets on Twitter has been mind-boggling to me. How people are just this insanely clueless. Like it's amazing. It's almost like, are these people even trolling? Like they can't really think some of this shit, right? So I want to address some of these things, go over some of the, if you or like me, you've been in the game industry, gaming and stuff, that, a lot of this is going to be weird to you. But hey, I guess you could point and laugh if you want. But anyway, let's get on some topics here. So first thing, the crowd that thinks your cartridges and discs in modern era are pointless. Now, of course, this goes into a side sect of people, because there's also the people, like, oh, I love physical stuff. It's pointless and all that, and we'll get onto that. But there is a group of people that actually honestly think your disc and your cartridges have nothing on them. That they're like a key you put in a door and you twist and you open the door, and the door is the game being downloaded to your console. Like, there's people who really think that. Now, there are some games that basically are like that. Tony Hawk 5, Hogwarts Legacy, Jedi Survival. Those have barely anything on their discs, and you got to download the rest, which is for shame, especially for Survival and Legacy, for sure, because that is just really shitty to do for those. Though, new news say they're trying to port Star Wars Jedi Survival on the PS4 now, which that could actually give hope of an actual complete version on the disc, possibly. So, hopes to that. Of course, the game has to also be decently playable too. So, but we'll see. We'll see how that turns out. I'm hoping for some good news on that, or Game of the Year edition, because I did hear, especially for the Harry Potter game, I heard it was pretty fun. That when my friends in my workout group actually was playing through that, and they said they quite enjoyed it. So it was a real shame to hear a single player game in that kind of condition. Like, multiplayer online only type things is one thing, but yeah, a single player game is a joke for a single player game to be in that kind of condition. And they're all games, like I said, that are in that condition, but those are a very minute, like I would say a good at least 90% of games without patches or needing internet are playable off your discs in your cartridge. And yeah, we're gonna get the install topic for those who want to go bring up that. We'll get there in a second. But you do not need your patches and online access for most games to be playable and beatable. Now, some suffer some consequences worse than others. Like Elden Ring, as much as I loved Elden Ring, I did go over because Elden Ring was one of the games I did not play offline without patches. The Souls experience to me is playing with the community. So that was one of the few experiences I wasn't going to forsake in that. But we did have someone who tested it offline. And there were some weird shenanigans. A few items and chests that were in different places. A few enemy. I imagine though, if somebody combed through the whole game, there were probably lots of weird enemy placements that were different. Because that's not anything new. Like Dark Souls 1, for example, had like in the swamp area, there were a few enemy placements that were changed between the OG physical release and what patches did to the game. So I'm sure there's a lot of weird instances of that. And there was specifically a NPC quest line that was a bit messed up when it came to dialogue, but they were still able to get the reward and stuff. So there were definitely, things that weren't perfect in Elden Ring, but it was still a game you could get all the endings and everything in that. So it wasn't necessarily the end of the world kind of thing. Well, those other games that really are in bad condition, like the Cyberpunk game, that came out in a horrible ass condition, terrible condition. So that kind of thing certainly does happen. It does happen. You can't avoid that kind of thing happening all the time because some companies rush the shit out and don't properly test, or like with Tony Hawk 5, well, when Tony Hawk 5 came out and that got massive outrage, and it's shocking to me how that got massive outrage, and then like Hogwarts Legacy and Jedi Survival had a much smaller outrage. There was still us who thought it was a joke still. But there was a much lesser crowd of it. It's very alarming and worrisome towards me in a wanting games to be playable in the future for people that. But Tony Hawk 5 shenanigans at least made sense in a business factor of what they were doing, because they were going to lose the license. So what they did is they released the game prior to losing the license, because the license didn't mean they couldn't keep updating on it. So basically they released it early and kept working on it after the license was gone. So in a business sense, I understand what the fuck they were doing. It still was scummy and horrible. Oop. That phone is weird, I tell you. Anyway. But, oh! We're going high speed Mach 10 here. Whoa! On the bus to nowhere. But yeah, it's kind of really confusing to me on why it's getting a lot of free passes more and more as this kind of stuff happens. And it's something I feel is a more teetering problem when it comes to Western games and Western versions of games. Like right now, there's this whole thing with one of the new Yakuza games, likely not going to get a physical version. What is it, the Blind Man or something, or the Forgotten Man, or I can't remember the subtitle for it. But there's this whole thing on whether we're going to actually get a physical version of it, or if Europe's going to get a physical version, or Asia's going to get a physical version. Like there's this whole confusion on whether it's going to get a physical version anywhere outside of Japan. A lot of people don't know what's going on there, because as far as I understand, Sega has not officially commented on it. And it's definitely not the first instance. There's several games that we've been getting hard passes on getting physical versions, which is why it's been really nice that Asian versions have become like a big steeping amount of Asian versions have been coming with English and other languages, and that's been very good, because that's obviously been a great way to get some of these games that we haven't been getting physical versions here in the Western territories, which sucks. Sucks. But moving on, though. Next topic. installs. So yes, modern games are more of just fucking installing it on your system versus like older times. Well, I'm gonna regret this.
Hello, how are you? I am under the water. Please help me. Here too much raining.
We'll ignore that one. Anyway, um, most games are more of installs and stuff in modern consoles and that versus like old days where like PlayStation's ones would weed off the disc and load that onto your screen and stuff and your cartridges being wet and that. Like it is a much lesser thing. I'm not even sure if there's any games that actually weed off Switch cartridges or the discs at all. To be fair, I don't 100% know that, but even if all the games are literally being installed off your physical media, you still have that fucking game. Like, I have Warcraft 1 physically on PC. I can dump that on my PC off the launch DOS box and still play that. Or if I had a DOS abled PC still, I could just throw it in there and play it that way too. Like, I can still get the content off the disc or cartridge and play it. So I don't understand this mentality. It's like, they'll just install things so physical don't matter anymore. Like I don't get that mentality. It's on now. As long as the game's fully on now and doesn't require online access, like what's it matter? You still have the game. Now it's annoying with stuff with like Call of Duty and stuff because most Call of Duty games lately have not been fully on the disc and have required, updates. But there's also the whole, I should say, conspiracy on like Activision's part that have been making massive, like, I mean, there are Call of Duty games that are like close to the border of 100 gigabytes. That's like insane to me for the need that fucking space. Like, have you seen how big fucking Elden Ring's fucking game is? It is not that fucking huge compared to it. Like it's like ridiculous. I think the last time I looked at Elden Ring, I think it's like 60 gigabytes or something. That, like, that's not as fucking bad. Like the hell. I think it might have been like I don't know off the top of my head, but I'd have to honestly go look at that. But it's just ridiculous how big some of those. And some people use those to be like, oh, you gotta wait forever and shit for the install. Like, I don't really recall too many games that take too long to fucking install. So, but some people are really impatient. So and it doesn't change anything when you're downloading it. You still have to download and install it still anyway. So that argument doesn't even make sense to me because you gotta download it on top of installing it. And it's just like what? I don't get that argument at all. But yeah, as long as it's still on though, doesn't need online access for you to be okayed to have it. Like, I don't get why that argument exists at all either. Now, of course, you got the Game Pass people. Now, I want to be very clear. If you like Game Pass and you don't really care about ownership, like you're looking at it as entertainment in a rental sense, Game Pass is fantastic in that sense. You pay a very small price, you get access to a decent sized library, games come in and out, and they're very disposable in that. If it's disposable fun you want, the Game Pass is a good deal for you. Not saying that it doesn't have that benefit of that. But for those who want to ensure games are preserved for other people to play in the future, is that the flying saucer? Oh my goodness, that's a flying saucer. That's really weird. No! Oh, I didn't get on time. It doesn't give you a lot of time to get in there, I see. Oh well, we didn't get abducted from Mars today. Oh well. Anywho. I digress. Ownership, like, there's people who care about ownership. Because, we pay a lot of money for the shits at times. Especially the people who buy the big collector's editions, which is all more bullshit when they don't come with a fucking physical version in the game. Like that shit's a whole nother full like bullshit. Like I don't get that at all either on that front. That's just a whole new train of bullshit. But like the mentality of convenience, like it is your choice on whether you want convenience or ownership. That is a choice that we all make. Some people choose to not worry about having clutter, having more convenient measures of not having to worry about organizing, cleaning, and all that kind of stuff. Like, because there are all drawbacks, and like I own over 4,000 physical fucking games. That's obviously very consumptioning on space. Like, I'm an individual. I don't want a video game museum here. Like, so it kind of depends on how you are on that. So, I'm not here saying digital shit shouldn't exist. Like, obviously, if DRM-free digital was a much bigger thing than it is right now, it would be one of the more ultimate ways to actually have games, because you could store the game any way you want. USB drive, disc, whatever the fuck you want. We got it. You got rupees. We have it. But, yeah, that's not the reality of the industry, sadly. Only some games dare trend that DRM free, while others dare not. So, interestingly, recently a bunch of the Yakuza games gone GOG, which is awesome. Really awesome. That's good. Like I would love to see more of that. Because you see, if PC went more in that direction, I would actually be more interested in doing PC gaming. Because two reasons I don't like PC gaming is sometimes you run into complications on trying to get the software to fucking like your PC, and I don't like the headache that's involved in that sometimes. Because sometimes, while it can be minor, easy to fix, other times you may never fucking figure out why it doesn't like your fucking PC sometimes. And that can be very annoying. And another thing is, of course, ownership has become a increasingly issue when it comes to the PC side of gaming, so yeah. But and downloads are important in a way of preserving as well, because I mean, look at the retro market. So much shit is like, I just came from like a GameCon event convention in my home state up in St. Louis, and wow, just so much shit is expensive. PS2 and backward, just so much shit that's insane expensive. And PS3 and 360 and Wii are likely going to be the next thing to start going up, up, and up, and up. And while it's nice to continue having the stuff available in a physical format, of course, it's what I prefer myself. But when it's available digitally, is a good option for people who don't want to spend to me, like, when you get past $100, it's really hard justifying buying a fucking game. And some of this shit is ridiculously expensive. Like, some of the shit's in 200, 500 range of fucking shit. It is unreasonable. It's cancerous. It's horrible. I don't like seeing it myself. But is the sad reality in a marketplace of people not being things not being properly preserved and shit. Like, we keep having these stores getting shut down and shit, things not being provided, backwards playability becoming less of a thing. Like, that's like the only thing Microsoft's doing really good on their fucking console, is making a lot of things backwards compatibility. Other than that, like, to me, Microsoft's been a huge fucking failure in everything else, which is a real shame. I wish Sony was doing more of that versus the whole anti-Japanese fucking campaign they've been doing for several years. Like, what are you doing, Sony? What are you doing? I don't know what the fuck you're doing. You're burning all the goodwill you've had for years. Like, it's like, what the fuck? Uh-oh. Banded ship! Ah! Yeah, you can't abandon. We're being locked down. It's locked down. VR COVID. No. Anyway. anyway. But yeah, it is a sad state of the retro market and shit. I don't like it. Obviously, I wish everything was like I wish I could get a humane price on Hunting Ground. I'm glad I got Wool Rose when I got it for like $70-$60 at a store when I visited my sister one time. Because like it's like $800 now, and I'm like $800 fucking. The hell? What's wrong with this shit? But yeah, preserving shit is, of course, been a bigger subject matter lately. You know, we had this big article thing come out where that saying, what was it, 87% of the game industry is not being preserved in a legal. Now, I believe the terminology was in a legal way for you to be able to play the games. Of course, obviously, you can do piracy or pay exorbitant amount of money for a physical version on eBay, but like a legal way of getting it from the company themselves, not through a third party. That there were that many games that you cannot. And you know what really hurt that shit is like shutting all these digital. Like honestly, like if the Nintendo Wii's fucking store was up. I don't know how much of a dent it would put in that, but there was way more older games on the fucking original Wii than there ever was on the Wii U or on the fucking Switch. It's mind-boggling how each console generation Nintendo seems to be doing half the work. Wii U came out half, then the Switch half of that, and then I guess the next console is going to be half of what the Switch has, which means even because I mean, like I think on the Switch they only release like fucking 5 games every like half year. It's just kind of like why didn't you just keep the fucking store you had on the Wii U and make it compatible going forward? It's because money. They don't care about preserving the product. They don't care about your rights to those products at all. Even though you may have paid absolutely full price for whatever the fuck it was, they don't care. They want money. And every time you buy Super Mario Brothers again on the NES for $4 or whatever the fuck it is, it means more money.
It is impossible to look out while sticking your tongue out.
Thank you, wise phone of wisdom to the bus to nowhere. Always really wise. Anyway, it is just exhausting. Like a lot of this stuff is just very exhausting. And you know, it goes into the topic of how other things are preserved. You know, movies, books, articles, newspapers, and things. You know, we have a lot of different ways we preserve a lot of other media. Video games have completely kept continuously, like the group that runs the ESRB, you know, that group I always like say, like, they're kind of pointless nowadays and they're just greedy, fucking money-hungering people who fucking throw weight for the game industry in a negative sense as far as I'm concerned at this point. Like, I mean, like, in other words, they should be fighting for the consumer, but they don't. They're like the HR for the game industry. You know, it's like, yeah, I see your complaint. You lost ownership of your Nintendo Wii games. We'll look into that. See you next time. Okay, make sure you lobby more to ensure the customer cannot argue about their digital games. Okay, good job, man. Go lobby. Like it's just. Yeah. It's And you know, there's this argument on making this stuff available through libraries, because libraries nowadays, there's several libraries nowadays where you can rent digitally. Like they allow you to rent, so many people can rent it digitally, like, you know, say like 10 people at a time with that stuff. And there's this argument of doing something similar to gaming, because obviously the game industry don't want to do that, because you would fucking like it. It's you know, like, oh fuck, how are we supposed to sell Dragon Warrior 1 if it's available at the library where people can just rent it and shit, like, you know. And you know, there's an argument to be made on how all that could work out in different ways. And that, you know, what I would personally do as my 2 cents in that, because I've thought about it, obviously, I would say if you do not offer a legal means of being able to purchase the item, I think it should go into the library in some system like that. Like, if you, like, we're going to let it be archived. We have no plans of re-releasing or anything of that. Let it be archived. Like, it's something kind of like, think about like how Sony keeps doing Spider-Man. So, like, back before Marvel got bought out by Disney, Sony and Marvel did a deal where basically if Sony keeps doing Spider-Man movies, they keep getting to renew the Spider-Man license, which is why, regardless of whether it's good or bad, that Sony keeps making a Spider-Man movie after so long, because having it. What's this? Is this I've never seen these traffic cones. Oh wow, this is different. I've never seen this stop. There's traffic cones all over the place. Excuse me, I gotta see this. What is this? Oh, it's a fucking. I've never seen this. Hey, you'll have to pardon me. I have never seen this. It's a giant tunnel. Oh, that don't sound good. That don't sound good. Oh. Oh, what the? What? I'm inside the bus's engine room. What in the hell? It's fucking weird. Is it still night? What the fuck? That was weird. That is so weird. I'm sorry. Then can I get the little robot dude real quick? No, gone. Didn't care about him because I've had him multiple times. That is fucking creepy. I have never saw that stop. Sorry about that detour. Like, I was just like, I have never seen that. I have never saw that. So I just had to explore that. That was fucking weird. Oh, that was pretty creepy, actually. That was pretty creepy, actually. So, sorry for interrupting the subject matter. But, yeah, if they don't make the game available anymore, I think it should get archived in the library in some way. Like, I know that guy who did the Love Hina manga had talked about something like that before, because he's a politician now. If you didn't know, the guy who made Love Hina is a fucking politician in Japan right now. He got voted in. Good shit. I think we needed that. But he too had brought up the argument of needing to preserve games and other Japanese media and stuff. I think it is something that is important. That it's cultural. It is a artistic history. At least the retro games. So I don't know about some of the newer ones here and there. But it's a weird shame that the industry continues to counter this. Look, if you're going to make the game available, I can understand that to a certain extent, because you can still make profit off of that. I think you have the right to do that to some extent. But when it's not being supported, when nobody even knows who owns the fucking video game, let alone get released or anything of that, like, I think it needs to be archived. Now, that also brings up the argument is, can, like, say, hey, I found out I own this game now, and I want to re-release it. Like, that does bring up an argument on, should we have a system, like, once it's archived, should they have the right? I think, in that sense, there should be a mixture. Like public domain. So, when something enters public domain, anyone can use it. Like, we had that whole movie of Winnie the Pooh, because Winnie the Pooh went to public domain, though characters like Tiggle wasn't public yet, and his iconic Red Short wasn't public domain yet, so obviously they had to do a few wiggle waggles, though. A lot of people are expecting the sequel to that movie, because it is actually getting a sequel, if you didn't know. Likely going to have Tiggle, because Tiggle goes in the public domain next year, so probably very good odds of that, probably. But I think if we archive, goes to public domain kind of stance, and is available in the lab as that, I think the people who own it can still, I think they, like, let's say we put Dragon Warrior or Dragon Quest 1 into the system. If Square Enix wanted to make a new version of Dragon Quest 1, or even just release the NES version out there again, I think they should be allowed to. Even though you could go to your local library and then, rent it and play it via that way. Because you're still renting something. It's not like you're going to the library and buying this shit. Like, you could still make it like how, like, Blockbuster and shit will, you're like, oh, I liked that game. Like, I don't know about, like, you all, but any game I actually liked when I rented it, I got it eventually. Whether it was used or new, I got it eventually. Now, obviously, games I don't like, I don't look into. Now, that might not be able, because, people who are more disposable income, just looking for disposable fun, probably didn't really buy a lot of those games. But, again, it just depends to me. Either way, my point is, I'm sure it will still help generate some sales, because people will be like, oh, I like this game, that I better go buy it so I can play through all of it, Now, you can make the argument that, that hurts blind sales. I mean, that's why, like, the game industry didn't really like YouTube reviewers, because the blind industry really got whipped open there. Now, what I mean by blind industry, what it means is, like, you had very selective peepholes to look for information, and the further back you go in time in the game industry, the less there was. I mean, before the internet was more mainstream, you just had magazines, and if you didn't get a magazine, you just, like, went off the covers or your gut instinct, and like, oh, I want that one, mommy, and hope the hell it was good that, Like, you can make arguments on, like, how many blind sales and shit there, but, like, look, at this point, you're not going to really get that as much. There's too many ways to get information, raw footage, full playthroughs and shit. Like, that's just a thing that only the user themselves can really create. Like, only the user themselves are going to make that kind of situation fucking happen. I'm going to grab this real quick. That is a self-choice thing to basically go in and buy a game without any information on that game at all. That is a user choice only. Like, at this point, there are so many simple ways that you can find information. I'm going to put this on the roof too, because it does something. It gets struck by lightning. Anywho. But, that's a self-choice thing. There's no reason that you should not fucking be doing research. I mean, you can do very minimal. I mean, it's not obviously hard for most people to pop up YouTube and just look up a little video gameplay. Just a small 2-3 minutes of gameplay just to get a general idea of what the hell it is that, I mean, that's what I do when I come across something I've literally never heard of, which isn't very common, but it happens, I'm like, oh, I never heard of this, and I look it up and see if it's interesting or not, and depending on the price and the interest in the game, it's $2 and looks slightly interesting, I'd probably bite. If it looks like interest and it's like $30, then I'll probably pass it, And if it looks very interesting, regardless of whether it's cheap or not, then it may get either way, Like, you're not going to really get blind sales anymore if you're going to make that kind of argument of that. It's just going to be not a very, very likely thing to happen much anymore. So I don't think relying on that. I think it would be more beneficial to have people be able to try your game out and be like, "Hey, I like this," and go buy it. And I mean, in theory, yeah, they could just continuously keep winting it. Go back and like, "Hey, I want to wint this again." Now, I don't know how if you made it the digital kind of winting system, I don't really know how that works. Um, very much. I mean, like when I ever went to the book when I was younger, I just if I wanted it longer, I'd be like, okay, I want we win this again. I mean, I imagine you could just do that again, but um, saved games and that. I'm not sure how that would work in a digital front. And of course, the game industry might make it where you can't keep like a save, maybe, so you can't like we went it. I could see that. You could make an argument about that being good or bad, or that for obviously for a consumer it's not good, but you can make the argument like sometimes you gotta have to live with some concessions sometimes to get some of these things. I could understand a little bit that concession to get someone to go buy the game if it was for sale. Now, of course, if it's not for sale, like this is the only way to play this game anymore outside of third party people who have an over expensive cartridge of the game still. Obviously, then in that sense, you would want to make it where you could carry over a save because it's the only way to play it anyway. So I guess you would have to maybe make a multi-system in that, depending on certain things. But these are all hypothetical things. Either way, I am supportive on the idea of preserving our game industry, making the stuff available for people to be able to play if it's not available for sale. I am a strong believer if it is not for sale, and there's literally no idea who the fuck even owns anything, I think the shit should be available for people to play in some fucking legal way that isn't piracy. It is sad that our industry relies heavily on piracy to fucking preserve itself. I don't know about anyone else. I think that's really sad. I think it's really sad that we have to rely on piracy to fucking preserve a lot of things. You would think we would be so far away from the dark ages of, like, look at shit like Doctor Who. A lot of the OG episodes of Doctor Who were fucking lost to time. And if it wasn't for people who recorded, like, shit on their VHSs and shit, a lot of the original Doctor Who would have been lost. Now I think at this point, I think there's only 2 episodes that don't have any footage, but I think they have the audio for them, I believe. I can't remember exactly. But most of it has been recovered in some form of quality. Some a little better than others. But, you would think we'd be so far away from that kind of dark age and no better than that, but yet we continue going on this self-destructive path, especially when it comes to games that are becoming a service, online only, servers, not being able to have LAN or set up any fan servers or anything. Just shut, like, one game I wish I could have tried, and I know a lot of people said bad shit about, but I would have liked to try it. Babylon Fall from Square Enix didn't even get to live a fucking year. Or barely a year. Like, they shut it down. It's gone. I can never try it now unless somebody somehow hacks it and somehow finds a way to make it function. Phone, what do you want? The phone's wisdom speaks again. So, unless somebody does that, which involves obviously hacking the product and shit, I'll never get to try Babylon Fall. So, bit of a shame on that. Like, I did want to try it for the right price. I wanted to get for maybe like $5 or something to try for a little fun. But yeah, never got my hands on a copy. I've never even seen a copy after about halfway into its lifespan. Like, it just kind of vanished from everywhere. So, yeah, kind of sucks when something like that, like, and something else I'd love to try, the original Final Fantasy XIV. A lot of people say it was fucking awful. I always wanted to give it a try myself, though. Uh-oh. Bus is doing something illegal. I didn't do it. Anyway, it was him. He did it. He'll have him. Take him. Throw him out of the bus. He's the wanted one. He's the virus. Anyway, I don't have the perfect answer for all this stuff, but it is sad and alarming how there's so many people who don't care about preserving our industry. That, if you view it as disposable enjoyment, that's fine. That's your, but I think you should still care about other people playing, especially games you liked. Like, that's the thing that's sad to me, is just a lot of people don't have any care about watching or letting other people enjoy stuff they got to enjoy. Like, this stuff is going to die and want more and more and more and more as we go on. Digital stuff, like digital console only shit, is a very concerning thing, because while PC shit has a lot more advantages of being preserved through piracy, again, feel very sad that I have to say things like that, but console digital shit is a lot harder to preserve in that way. It's a lot more problematic to get functioning, because you need hacked consoles or emulate the console itself, which emulation, oh man. Back when I used to play a few emulation things, like I know the whole anti-emulation people. Now, I don't like playing games via emulation. I mean, there's a reason I bought a copy of Melmax 3 physically, even though it is purely in Japanese, but I could get a ROM that has English translation in it. But I don't usually like doing emulation very much, but emulation is not illegal as long as you're using your own stuff. If you got an emulator itself is not illegal unless it has protected stuff, which is something companies did in modern consoles. So more modern consoles are a little harder, but old emulators for sure are no problem now. Now the games, legally you have to get the ROM off your legit stuff, but technically it's a-okay that way. Now, downloading it off the internet is technically not right. Just to get the technicality there. Like, if I take my copy of Super Mario Brothers and extracted the ROM off of it and put it in the emulator on my computer, that would be legal, because it's from my legit copy. Now, if I sold it or gave it to anyone, that would be illegal. And if I download it off the internet, that is technically illegal as well, because it's supposed to come from your legit copy. Now, of course, you can make an argument how they're going to fucking prove that, and I'm not exploring that sense, and that's a different argument. That personally, I think it's good enough to actually own the product itself myself, but they want to make it harder for people to defend themselves, because to abstract it, you need other shenanigans and shit. So, but but some people prefer doing emulation instead of obviously buying all the expensive shit and that. And I mean, I can't really blame people to a certain extent, especially with older stuff, because like used prices are fucking awful for so much shit. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. But it's amazing to me how we can't preserve any of this shit. Like, it's amazing to me how people make arguments that we can't preserve this shit. Or that, like, having them in lab areas and shit would be awful for the industry and stuff. Like, look, that kind of goes into the whole $70 bro thing, Like, this generation, we've seen several games try out $70. Now, most of them have been Western games. Not all of them. Most of them have been Western games, but there are a few that have teetered in it. If you technically count Sony still as Japanese, there was Demon Souls. I kind of don't anymore, because they're in California. They have forsaked pretty much their Japanese roots. They closed down basically all the fucking studios, other than the people who made the VR robot thing. So, honestly, to me, I don't want to count Sony as a Japanese company anymore. We want phone.
Hello, no one is available to take your call.
Good. I'm glad nobody's available for my call. Take that. But if you want to count still, Demon Souls was one of the first $70 games for the PS5, which to me was stupid because it's a PS3 game with just higher textures and shit. Yeah, a lot of the Western games, in my opinion, have been doing the whole $70 thing. And, you get these people like, oh, they need $70 so they can pay for their industry and pay their employees and shit, But then we see people like Bobby getting like a giant fat ass raise, but not the employees and shit. The employees need money, but let's keep making the CEOs and shit getting ridiculous amounts of money, right? Like, it's just it's just kind of a joke to me, honestly, how people look. The problem is the people who don't need insane. Like, look, these people could still be fucking rich and not be getting as much fucking money. Like these people are just super fucking greedy, man. Like super fucking greedy, man. Like Bobby could have like half the fucking money he makes and still be filthy fucking rich. Like, I'm not making the whole like, oh, defund the witch people and shit. Take the money of them. That we already had that one. I'm not trying to make that argument. What I'm saying is we need to stop letting them fucking make giant raises that aren't necessary. How many raises have Bobby from Activision got? Like, how many fucking raises has he got? Like, you got like. I've said like the Wii U I thought was a very interesting idea and that everyone like shits on it all the time. But something I give mad respect to like Nintendo's former president Iwata. When the 3DS, it's probably hard for some people to win them, but there was a point where 3DS was failing. Because a lot of people were like, why the fuck does this exist for this price and blah blah blah. And the Wii U didn't do so hot. Iwata fucking took a cut on his money to protect Nintendo as a company. Like, he took a loss on his paycheck to make up for problems happening at Nintendo. Like, that's some balls, though, to fucking just cut your paycheck to an extent to help the company do well. I have a lot of respect for that. But yeah, I like see Bobby do something like that. But no. We need profits. Gotta keep getting that money. Like raising the fucking video game prices is not going to go to the fucking employees when they keep fucking getting raises to the fucking CEOs and shit. Like that's not going to the people. So for the bros who are making that argument, that's not happening, sadly. Now, do employees need paid bail? Yeah, I think they deserve bail pay. Don't get me wrong. They're the ones doing a lot of the hefty ass fucking work and shit. Especially if you're doing crunch. If you're doing crunch, they definitely need like 3 times pay, man. That's cruelty if they're not doing that willingly. Like if you like, yes or no, would you like to do crunch? Like if they like, okay, sure, and give them 3 times pay of that, but like obviously I don't really think that's probably how that works with crunch, that you get yes or no, because if it's anything like overtime where I work, it's usually be heal or be win up. So that's honestly, and I've said this before, I think the $70 price thing is stupid. Because I don't think that's the issue when it comes to employees. And I don't think, like, it's an issue at all. At all. Like, people... I remember when CDs were first starting, and as we went into, like, Blu-ray and shit, like, people... And digital, too. As digital became more and more popular during 360 PS3 era. Because beforehand, basically everything was very experimental. Like, that's the first time where the digital age on console actually flourished into something. Everyone's like, games are going to get cheaper and cheaper. And then the freemium, all the freemium games, a lot of people have been saying, like, games are going to get cheaper and cheaper. Now we're trying to make them even more expensive. Because there was a time, number games were even more cheaper, actually. Like cartridge, and people like to bring up the cartridge era. Yes, there were Super Nintendo Genesis games and shit that costed a lot. That's because cartridges costed a lot. Like a Switch cartridge, the stuff going into them was pricier, so demanded more money. Like when you had big epic RPGs that needed more space and shit on the cartridges, that costed more money and shit. When CDs and shit started, that price went down because storage on a disc is really easy, especially when you could just make another disc or make another disc. So prices went down. Then we went to the Blu-rays and stuff, and then that, like, what was it? Was it during the PS3 era or the PS2 era? I tried to remember. I think it was the PS3 era because we went from $49.99 to $59.99. Now we're at $69.99. So the prices are going up, even though discs and everything are supposed to be cheap with the manufacturer and everything. On the disc end. Now the Switch end, the Switch end is like the previous cartridge argument. That's a little bit of a different subject matter there. But with the discs and shit, that's be cheaper. And obviously with digital, you don't have any of that shit. You just download the game. Yet stuff's still very expensive. Now some people, and this is true when digital started coming up, rental company, not rental. Retail companies, obviously retail companies don't want to stock games and have them be 50% or less on a digital store, because obviously that can hurt their own sales and interest in that. So yes, it is true retail stores are one of the reasons digital prices don't go down on a lot of stuff outside of sales now. Sales have gone way better on digital shit and stuff, so it's not been as bad now than the early ages of the digital era on consoles, because it was a lot more where we're seeing sales. That's one reason a lot of people want physical media to die. Because then they're like, well, now there's no excuse. You can make the prices cheaper now. And you want to know what? I don't think that would happen even in the slightest. I would be surprised if even a fraction of 10% of the industry actually took advantage of that to make prices cheaper. Because I don't think that would happen. What? Whoa. Whoa, what the hell? We're like ramming into walls. I've never seen that event either. That was very weird. That was very weird. Keep seeing new things in this fucking world. That actually shocked me. Oh, because it's just like, whoa. That actually fucking shocked me. That anyway. You got mail. Anyway. Anyway. Yeah, I think the whole $70 thing is just greed. Just greed. And I don't think getting rid of physical media and now not having that problem would magically change anything. I'm sure the industry, because the industries have been pushing the whole, we work really hard industry, we need more money, yet, you don't really see it going down to the employees at all. And, one of my biggest arguments is, people keep saying like, these people are not being paid properly, and that's a case we can make. Obviously, I'm not saying we can't, but I told you my opinion is that the higher ups are hogging all the profits and not letting it trickle to the employees enough. That's what I think the problem is. So like them raising prices isn't changing anything really. But I think not a single thing would change. They would continue making arguments for the prices that need to go up if digital was the only thing for them. Like, I don't think it would change for that many. There might be a company or two here, like that's kind of what's happening with Alan Wake in theory. in theory. Honestly, I think it's bullshit, Willie. Because, like, if it was like $39 or even $29, I could maybe believe that then. But, like, oh, yeah, it's gotta be digital only for it to be $59. It's not like Elden Ring was, like, super successful with a physical game for $60, you know? That, that wasn't a thing, you know? But you know, which I think that's bullshit with fucking Alan Wake 2. I'm so mad about that because I played it all and like I even got the digital shit. Like I bought Nightmares digitally, even though at that point I hated fucking digital shit on the 360 because my original console dying. That was a whole fucking horrible ordeal. I hated that. That's 360 is why I hate digital shit. Why DRM became such a thing that I paid attention to. It is Microsoft's own fault that I am like this. Because back when like it was first new, I was like, oh, this opens a window for devs to be creative and not be hindered by companies like EA being like, yeah, no, we don't think you're good enough. You're not worth the money. I'm gonna bloat my giant stack of money over here. You know, I thought it was, and I still think it is good in that sense. But I just don't. I'm not a fan of the DRM thing because when my original console died, I lost everything for a while. Because back in the early days of the 360 and the Wii, Nintendo and Microsoft never even thought about what happens when someone's console dies and they own digital shit. Nintendo's reply was, buy it again. Of course, that was mass outrage, and over time, that got where you have to still call and beg for your shit, and they would give you the points to buy all that shit again on a new Wii. Because there wasn't an account system on your Wii like with the Wii U and the Switch, which was a big issue on that front. Now with Microsoft was basically the same issue. Like the people would be like, go buy them again. Of course, again, people are like, what the fuck? I paid for this shit. What? And even more so, you have an account on the 360. So it's like there was no fucking excuse not to be able to fucking claim. So, eventually Microsoft made the system where you could change, quote unquote, what is your home console and allow you to fucking download shit. And they also made it where you can like temporarily download shit on someone else's console and as long as you're logged in, shit like that. But none of that existed back when the 360 first started. It was literally, you have nothing. Your system's dead. You're fucked. You don't got any way to play any of that shit again. Now, obviously, once the newer system came in, I was able to recover some of the games, but some of them still were buggy. Like there's a Sega Streets. Oh, what the fuck is this? Wow, I'm just getting a whole bunch of stops I've never been to. Hey, Green Merchant. And what's this? GPS. Oh. I've heard about the GPS. It tells us things. Let's see what the green guy has to say. I'm kind of curious. East, the Green Merchant. We were supposed to be the best merchants. We took oath, but the others got bored. Curious. I've never seen this guy. Anyway, I'm sorry getting distracted with the bus to nowhere. I wasn't expecting seeing things I hadn't seen before. It just piques my curiosity. Sorry, I got nothing for sale. I've left my merchant life behind. My brothers gave merchants a bad name. Brother gave merchants a bad name. Oh shit! The whole landmass fucking vanished into the void. Oh dear. Okay. That's very interesting. It says the distance between the next biome, time until the next cycle. Very interesting. Interesting. I'll have to hope to get that next time I actually legit play this. Just curious. But yeah, that's why I really don't like fucking digital shit. It was Microsoft's, because like it shows this arrogance that they didn't care about your right to own anything. And and I would learn about DRM and stuff from that, and even history of like PC DRM and stuff over time. And yeah, like in general, I didn't like. Same to you, buddy. But yeah, obviously I grew to not like any of that shit. Like no. Now, of course, when GOG became a thing, I was like, oh, this is awesome. You can download it, you can put it on disk, you can put it on UMD. You can put it on a USB UMD. Yeah, put it on a PSP disk. You can put it on a UBS. You could store it on Google Drive. You could do whatever. Install it on all your computers. You won't fucking held like you will fucking put like that. That's ultimately like what I think is bullshit about 90% of the fucking digital distribution of the industry. You're treated like a criminal for paying money for your product. Why pirates don't get treated like that. It's sad, It goes that famous quote that Gabe Newell says, though whether he believes that anymore, that's hard to say because, Valve is quite different from when he made that quote. So who knows what his thoughts on that kind of thing is now. But, yeah, it's sad. But yeah, when it ultimately comes down, will physical media be over? Because we're going through that whole, this is going to be the last console generation with physical. Now, I don't know about some of you youngins. For me, I've heard that since PS2 era. There was some wombles about the PS2 maybe doing some weird digital shit. That didn't happen. Then the PS3 and 360 era, that didn't happen. PS4 and Xbox One era, that didn't happen. Now, this generation, PS5 and Series, we got these consoles that you can buy with a physical drive or without a physical drive. And there were supposed rumors that the quote-unquote slim of the PS5 will have a removable. So in theory, you could buy like a one without a drive and then get a drive later on or something. And that would be an interesting optional system. Actually, that's for me, I think it's really interesting because, optical drives eventually die. So if you made it a removable drive, that would make repairs and replacements way easier. That's the way I see that myself, even though that's an unintended consequence. But personally, I think that would be interesting in that front. But I still don't have a PS5. There's nothing that's been thrilling enough for it, in my opinion. Nothing thrilling enough for it. But eventually I'll get one. Because there are some games I like playing.
Insanity SMP. It's hardcore Minecraft, but everyone has unique superpowers. And today, you, the viewer, get the chance to join. If you would like to join the Insanity SMP, make a video using this sound.
What the fuck was that? Anyway, but I don't think physical media is going to go away. Not unless it becomes completely unprofitable or the console manufacturers themselves stop it. If anyone was to do that for us, it would be Microsoft, in my opinion. Microsoft, in my opinion, would be the first one to make a console with no option to have physical. Because that's kind of the direction they're going in anyway. They'll definitely raising the disposable fun crowd with their Game Pass. And recently they just had a whole bunch of chart stuff showing those sales and everything have been quite disappointing. All of them at a loss, at a negative, at a under the sales that they wanted, which is of course not good. That's not good. They don't want that, obviously. But that is what they got. And whether they're going to continue in that direction, I don't know. Honestly, I feel like if they continue in that direction, if they don't change the culture enough, they're going to hurt some. Of course, the whole buyout with Activision and all that, and I'm not really wanting to get into that fucking mess of a fucking debate. Like, all that was really crazy to me because, like, a lot of people were cheering for that whole thing, and I'm just sitting here like, why do any of you really care other than the Game Pass people? Like, that is the only benefit. The disposable fun people who get to quote-unquote rent games in a Netflix style are the only people getting any benefit from it. Other than that, like, we lose ownership. All the titles associated with them will be on a more DRM-heavy platform. The quote-unquote temporarily will be available on Sony blah 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 platform shit is temporary, not long-term. Like, if it's long-term, that'd be one thing. It's temporary. I think, what they agree upon, 10 years right now? Unless something else changes. So 10 years and then boof, now they're all exclusive to a more DRM-heavy fucking platform. Like, I don't see. Now, I don't really care much about Activision because they already made garbage ass shit anyway with no real ownership on a lot of their titles anyway. So, I mean, it's not like a big loss in my opinion. But the bigger concern I have in that sense is if it gets okayed, even though there's not really any big benefit to fucking any of us aside from CEOs and shit, it's getting the okay to start basically buying the entire industry. Microsoft and Sony would basically have nothing to stop them from buying everyone, and unless the big people are like, no, I'm not selling my company. Unless they're like that, they're gonna buy the majority of the fucking industry, and then it really will be just mostly fucking Microsoft and Sony. Because I don't think Nintendo's likely going to really get into the whole thing, but who knows? They could. They might. Probably not. I mean, they passed out on a lot of good people. They passed up on Rare and the company that made the Mario and Luigi RPGs. They were going to shut down the Fire Emblem people until Fates, the 3DS one. I think it was Fates, right? That was the 3DS one. When that one succeeded, and then they got some. Chicken. Anyway, they passed up on a lot of different companies, a lot of companies sink, so I don't really see Nintendo really getting into it. They could, probably not though. But yeah, that's kind of my concern in that sense. But then kind of derailed it. I mean, derailing so much. Oh, but yeah. Those are a lot of my thoughts on the state of shit and stuff and preserving and physical and stuff. It's kind of shocking how more and more people are becoming corporate shills or just straight out lying. Like, I saw several examples of people like influencers, popular influencers. I never heard of any of them, but they have an audience. Just straight out lying about physical media and shit. Like, it's alarming. It's very alarming that people like that are fucking telling wrong information to people and shit. Like, that is super alarming. But yeah, it's just kind of shocking to me how a lot of people don't care about their rights to any shit. And this ain't just a video game industry in that sense. It's something that's slowly infecting other things, Like, a lot of people point and laughed at us when we showed concerns, and now we're at a stage where last year car companies wanted to do a subscription system for seat warmers in your car and a subscription system to use your dangle thing on your keys to unlock and start your engine and shit. Like, that's where we are now. They're starting to fucking incorporate shit like that into your normal everyday use shit. And you laughed at us. You laughed, and now you are the ones who pay. But no, we all pay actually. But luckily, a lot of that shit got shut down. But it goes to show you how they're doing this shit. And I've heard of refrigerators and washers and shit they're trying to do weird shenanigans with too. So I mean, this in general is not just a simple video game issue. There's a lot of issues in that regard to just like everything when it comes to the ownership thing. You know, you've probably heard the whole meme, just consume, buy and consume meme. I can't remember. It was some YouTuber who was his environment was super naughty, but he did some line saying it's just just consume, buy and consume and shit. It's always gets memed on in this oh. Eee. Got the knife. This is actually a very important utensil if you want to kill people in the busted no well. So that's kind of interesting to come across. Can you kill the virus with it? Where'd he go? Okay, you can't kill him with it. That's a shame. Because he deserves it. He's evil. Anyway. Anyway. But, yeah. It's just, yeah, it's annoying. It's just sad, annoying, and everything. And things like this keep teetering on this, and people fighting for people's rights to fucking own, repair, fix things. It's just sad. It's sad that people get mocked for trying to fight for other people's rights, and that it's strange to me how people are just accepting it, just letting it go. Obviously different people can rank different things as being important and not, but in general it's just kind of concerning about all technology, honestly. But that's a big old subject matter. But yeah, I don't think physical is going to go anywhere as long as there's a market, because physical companies like limited ones in that are not going to be going anywhere as long as they can make physical stuff. It became very profitable for some of the companies that do that kind of thing. So long as they offer the option to make physical things, there will be companies that will make physical things. There will be companies like Limited One that will continue that, even if retail becomes smaller and smaller for physical shit. I think ultimately, like I said, it will come down to the console owners. As of now, console owners as of now, Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. Who knows in the future if anyone else enters that, because, Sony came out fucking nowhere. It can happen. And of course, as things become more and more like how they are now, there might be even more people who might be interested in it. But, it could open a new window for someone to make a DRM-free console or something, some weird, crazy. But point is, until they themselves make it where their console does not accept a form of physical media, I don't think physical is going anywhere. As long as they find profit in it and limited companies are willing to do it, I think it will exist to some extent. And I think Asian versions will also be still very popular too, because Asia still gets a lot of physical stuff. And until that changes too, I don't think that will go away. Because, there's a lot of countries that don't have super great internet. We make, a lot of people make fun of America having unstable fucking internet around its country. There's countries that have even worse internet, or no fucking internet, or reliable internet. So, obviously getting rid of physical media gets rid of those countries as an audience of that. So, it's depends on whether they're willing to sacrifice that too. And I just think that would be stupid myself. But, there was the Xbox One showcase, so it could happen, obviously. But I definitely would say Microsoft would be the first to do that kind of thing. But I don't think it's very likely going to happen next generation. But time will tell. Anywho, though, I think that's enough ranting on the subject matter on that. But I would love to hear your 2 cents on it. What kind of weird takes have you heard on physical media? Oh, one last phone call. no message. But the message for you, though, is what kind of weird takes have you heard on physical media, digital, the $70 price tag? What things do you agree, disagree? What are your 2 cents on trying to make games available through libraries, preserving, archiving? What do you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts on these because after all, as a community, I think it's important for us to talk about these subject matters because for anything to get done, we have to talk and push for those things versus sitting around and consuming. Choices must be made. But anyway, I'm your host, and I'm off to the proving ground on the bus to nowhere. Good luck out there, and be careful out there. There's no telling what's outside this bus. Till next time, toodles, and I'll see you next review. Oh, yeah, kind of forgot. That's a local. It followed me. I was gonna, yeah, kind of lame. Kind of lame.